The story of the clever hyena. In the heart of the African savanna, where the golden grass danced with the wind and the sun painted the horizon in shades of orange, lived a young spotted hyena named Tamu. Unlike most members of her clan, Tamu was curious, patient, and far more clever than her peers. While the others relied on their numbers and brute force to survive, Tamu had learned the power of observation and planning. Tamu's home was a wide stretch of land filled with acacia trees, termite mounds, and the distant sound of roaring lions. Life here was beautiful but dangerous. Every day was a challenge, finding food without becoming food for someone else. Hyenas were often misunderstood by other animals and even feared. Many thought of them as mere scavengers, but Tamu knew the truth. Hyenas were skilled hunters, stronger than they appeared, and full of surprises. From a young age, Tamu had been fascinated by the way other animals behaved. She would watch a group of zebras grazing and notice how one always stood watch. She would observe how vultures circled in the sky to signal a carcass nearby. She even studied the lions, her greatest rivals, learning how they stalked their prey and how they guarded their kills. One hot afternoon, Tamu lay under the shade of a baobab tree, her amber eyes following the movements of a small herd of wildebeest near the river. She noticed something unusual. One wildebeest limped slightly. It was old, tired, and slower than the rest. Tamu's stomach growled, but she knew she couldn't bring it down alone. She thought of her clan, but they were far away, sleeping after a long night's hunt. If she went back for them, the wildebeest would be gone. So she decided to use her cleverness. Instead of rushing, Tamu began to stalk from a distance, staying downwind so her scent would not be carried to the herd. She followed silently, keeping her eyes fixed on the limping animal. Hours passed, and the sun began to sink. The wildebeest grew weaker, moving away from the others to drink from a shallow waterhole. But Tamu wasn't the only predator watching. A lioness named Seifu had also noticed the wildebeest. Seifu was strong, powerful, and proud. She hated hyenas, believing they were thieves with no honor. When she saw Tamu in the tall grass, she let out a low growl. Tamu froze. She knew a direct fight with Seifu would be foolish, but she also knew lions were possessive. They wouldn't let anyone near their prey once they caught it. That gave her an idea. The moment Seifu pounced on the wildebeest, Tamu did not run away. Instead, she kept her distance, circling slowly. She knew Seifu would tire from the hunt and would have to drag the carcass to a safer place before eating. The lioness roared, warning Tamu to stay back, but the hyena just sat there, grinning in her usual way. As night fell, the air cooled and the sounds of the savannah changed. Crickets chirped, frogs croaked, and in the distance Tamu heard the faint whooping calls of her clan. She answered with a sharp, high-pitched call of her own. Within minutes, shapes emerged from the darkness, 3 other hyenas, lean and hungry. Tamu led them toward the lioness. Seifu was eating now, her face buried in the wildebeest's flank. She had no idea that 4 hyenas were approaching. The hyenas moved in, their laughter-like calls echoing in the night. Seifu looked up, furious. She tried to defend her kill, but she was tired from the chase. The hyenas worked together, darting in and out, distracting her from different sides. Eventually, the lioness realized it wasn't worth the risk. She snarled, swiped at Tamu, and then melted into the darkness. Tamu and her clan feasted under the stars. It wasn't just a meal, it was a victory. The others praised her for her patience and strategy. She had turned a dangerous situation into a feast without losing a single member of the clan. From that night on, Tamu became known as Tamu the Clever. She began leading more hunts, teaching the younger hyenas to think before they acted. She showed them that strength was important, but intelligence could win battles without shedding blood. One rainy season, when food was scarce, Tamu's skills became even more important. The rivers swelled, prey animals moved away, and lions became more aggressive. Many nights ended with empty stomachs, but Tamu refused to give up. One morning, she noticed a group of vultures circling over the far hill. She trotted over carefully and found a half-eaten zebra carcass, abandoned by wild dogs who had been chased off by a sudden storm. The meat was still fresh, and no predators were around. But instead of calling her clan immediately, Tamu hid the carcass under thick thorn bushes, masking the smell with mud and leaves. Then she returned to the sleeping clan and led them to the spot hours later, after the sun had risen high and most other predators were resting in the shade. They ate in peace, safe from lions and leopard.